Welcome back to Lore Reforged. Today we're diving into the story of one of the most badass figures in all of Dota 2, Mars, the god of war himself. Forget about him just being a tanky frontline hero with a big spear. Behind the gameplay, there's a brutal legacy of blood, betrayal, and divine chaos. Mars isn't just some random demigod. He's literally the first son of heaven, the one who stood at the front of armies when the cosmos was still fresh. And trust me, his lore is as heavy as his shield. Mars wasn't born into peace. He's the son of heaven's highest throne, forged from conflict itself. If Zeus is the one tossing lightning bolts like they're cheap fireworks, Mars is the one leading the charge, making sure the world never forgets what war really means. From the moment he existed, he carried the weight of violence as both his weapon and his purpose. Back in the earliest days, when gods weren't just sitting in their sky palaces, but actually shaping reality, Mars became the spearhead of conquest. Every time divine order clashed with chaos, Mars was there, dragging mortals and immortals alike into battle. He wasn't just another soldier of Olympus. He was the one who set the rules of war itself. But here's the twist. Mars didn't fight for justice, and he definitely didn't fight for mercy. He fought because war was inevitable, and someone had to be the one to master it. While other gods tried to play favorites, Mars only cared about victory. Cities rose in his name, kingdoms burned because he willed it, and blood was basically his currency. Over centuries, mortals started worshipping him not just out of respect, but out of fear. They knew Mars didn't hand out blessings like Zeus or Aphrodite. His gift was war. Brutal, unstoppable war. Temples to Mars weren't places of peace. They were training grounds. Places where young warriors swore oaths that they'd either return with their shield or on it. And Mars, he fed off that devotion. Not because he needed prayers like other gods, but because war itself kept him alive, relevant, and untouchable. The more battles fought in his name, the more his legend grew. And you know what's crazy? Even when the world tried to forget him, when new gods came into power and empires fell, Mars never really left. He just waited, spear in hand, ready for the next fight. Mars didn't just sit on the sidelines of divine politics, he lived in the middle of it. His entire existence is conflict. He fought alongside gods when they needed a weapon, and he fought against them when their vision didn't align with his. That's the thing about Mars. Loyalty isn't in his blood. Victory is. One of his biggest conflicts? His own father. Zeus might be the king of gods, but Mars never respected his old man's way of ruling. Where Zeus was all about flashy punishment and control, Mars wanted domination through pure force. This father-son rivalry became legend. Lightning against spear, order against brutal conquest. It wasn't just personal beef. It was a war that shaped how mortals saw the heavens. And Mars wasn't any kinder to mortals. Kings who refused to fight in his name, cities that tried to reject war altogether, Mars burned them down. He couldn't stand weakness, and he hated the idea of peace more than anything. To him, peace was just the silence before the next slaughter. But Mars's conflicts weren't just with family or mortals. He fought other gods too. Gods of justice, mercy, even love. Because every time they tried to limit war, Mars made sure to remind them war can't be caged. He turned battlefields into arenas, monuments to his own philosophy that blood is the only truth. And that's why Mars stands out. He's not the noble warrior type. He's the guy who'd rather burn heaven itself than admit that war has an end. His conflicts weren't accidents. They were his legacy. To Mars, every broken spear, every fallen god, every ruined city wasn't a tragedy. It was proof that his way is the only way. So how does all that god-level chaos fit into the world of Dota? Mars shows up not just as a warrior, but as the embodiment of combat itself. In-game you see it, the shield, the spear, the arena. It's not just flashy design, it's his entire identity. Mars isn't about stealth or tricks. He's about throwing down the line and saying, "You fight me or you don't leave." His role in Dota's lore is bigger than just being another hero. Mars represents the eternal cycle of conflict that fuels the universe. Where other heroes fight for survival, power, or vengeance, Mars fights because fighting is who he is. His presence on the battlefield is like a reminder to every hero. No matter what your cause, war is the final judge. And honestly, that's why Mars feels different compared to most Dota gods and demigods. He doesn't care about balance, justice, or even victory for someone else. He fights to prove that war itself never dies. Every match you play as Mars is like stepping into that legacy, channeling the god who refuses to let peace win. All right, let's dig into the fun stuff, the facts and theories about Mars that make him way more than just the spear guy. First, Mars is technically the firstborn of heaven. That means before Zeus was out there throwing lightning bolts, Mars was already carving the rules of war into reality. He's not just another god in the lineup, he's the foundation of combat itself. That's why in the lore, no matter what happens to the other deities, Mars can't be erased. Second, his arena of blood isn't just some cool battlefield trick. Lore-wise, it's said to be a recreation of the earliest divine colosseums where gods settled disputes through combat. When Mars summons it, he's basically dragging everyone back to those primal times when blood decided everything. Now here's a wild theory. Some fans believe that Mars is secretly connected to Terrorblade. Sounds insane, right? But hear me out. Terrorblade thrives on rebellion and destruction, and Mars literally rebelled against his own father, Zeus. Some think Terrorblade's demonic uprising might have been inspired by Mars's chaos, or even indirectly fueled by his wars. Another interesting point, Mars is obsessed with legacy. Unlike other gods who want worshippers, Mars doesn't really care about prayers or temples. He wants battles that will be remembered forever. That's why his personality in-game is cocky, almost theatrical. Every taunt, every voice line is Mars reminding you, "This fight is my monument." And get this. Some players believe Mars might actually be the last god standing in the Dota universe. While Zeus, Nyx, and others could eventually fade, Mars represents war itself. And as long as beings fight, Mars survives. Think about it. If the Dota world ended tomorrow in one final massive war, Mars wouldn't die. He'd be the only one left, standing in the ashes, laughing. Because war never ends. So that's Mars. Not just a frontline hero with a flashy arena, but the living god of war, the first son of heaven, and maybe the last god who will ever stand. Every time you pick him in Dota, you're not just playing a tank. You're stepping into the shoes of a god who thrives on chaos, who refuses peace, and who believes every battle is his stage. Mars doesn't just fight wars. He is war. If you like this story, please subscribe to our channel. New lore is waiting for you.